From the most distant galaxies to our own moon, humans have been looking into the far reaches of the cosmos for thousands of years. However, one place has captured our curiosity and attention: the planet Mars. Mars is the fourth planet in our solar system and slightly half the size of Earth, yet it has, and continues to be, a destination for countless robotic space probes and human continued surveillance. From its menacing red color in the sky to humans speculating on intelligent life existing on the planet Mars has always held a distant fascination on humanity. Yet when the first space probes arrived, it showed a cold, desolate, and barren place devoid of life. However, exploration of the red planet continues. Getting to the red planet has been a notoriously difficult undertaking. Nearly 60% of all inbound flights to Mars have failed. Probes have either failed to orbit the planet, burned up in its atmosphere, or crashed onto its surface. The high number of failures and incidents have made some to believe that the planet is cursed. This is the story of the Mars Curse. Mars has been an interest for humans since its earliest days. Its blood red color inspired armies, and when the planet was visible, wars seemed to be always around. To the ancient Sumerians, it was Nergal. To the Greeks, it was Ares, and to the Romans, it was just Mars. With the invention of the telescope in the 15th century, people began to study planets for more scientific reasons. By the 18th century, telescope lenses had improved enough to see features on Mars' surface. In 1877, Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli noticed mysterious dark lines across its surface. He dubbed them canali, or canals, and some began to speculate that the planet had an irrigation system created by intelligent beings. This started speculation that Mars is an inhabited world full of intelligent life. American astronomer Percival Lowell also believed in the canals on Mars and even wrote a book entitled Mars, the Abode of Life, which supposedly detailed an inhabited Mars. While the potential habitability of Mars captured the minds of many, some saw the idea of Mars being inhabited as a threat to mankind. This was detailed in the book War of the Worlds by noted science fiction writer H.G. Wells. In the book, a race of beings from Mars invade Earth and subjugate the human race. They are only defeated by not having immunity to Earth-bound bacteria. The novel struck a nerve with many, and some scholars have considered the book a critique on British imperialism. The idea of Mars being inhabited, either by friendly or hostile beings, will remain a mystery for the next several decades. By the end of the 1950s, exploration of the planets had become possible. The Soviet Union launched probes to Mars, but they all failed. Mars probes 1 through 7 all failed or partially failed. Either the rockets exploded, the probes couldn't reach orbit, or they had communication problems. Despite this, the American probe Mariner 4 reached Mars in 1964 and took the first ever close-up pictures of the planet. It revealed a barren, desolate, frigid world, and Mars was no longer considered an abode of life. Several other Soviet probes, named Zond 1969A and Zond 2, were lost on approach to Mars. Despite these early failures, in 1976, the NASA Viking mission successfully landed on Mars in an attempt to conduct experiments to see if life ever existed on the planet. However, by the late 80s and into the 90s, exploration of Mars began to take a turn for the worst. 1988, the Soviet Union sent the probes Phobos 1 and Phobos 2 to study one of Mars' moons named Phobos. The probe was supposed to study the physical makeup of the moon, which was a captured asteroid. A ground controller mistakenly left out a hyphen for a computer command. A computer that was supposed to autocorrect and proofread commands sent to the probe was malfunctioning. The wrong code was sent to the probe, and this caused it to deactivate its reaction control thrusters. This meant that the probe could not orient its solar panels towards the sun. Without this, the probe could not charge its batteries. Phobos 2, however, was more successful. In 1984, NASA approved a mission to Mars called the Geoscience Climatology Orbiter. The mission was supposed to provide data on the Martian magnetic field, perform spectrum analysis of the planet's surface, and provide a detailed analysis on the atmosphere. The mission was later then changed to the Mars Observer. The spacecraft was launched on September 25, 1992 from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission was delayed in August due to Hurricane Andrew. The mission was supposed to arrive in the fall of 1993. On August 21, 1993, communications with the Mars Observer mysteriously ceased. Radio commands were sent in an attempt to communicate with the probe, but all of them were unsuccessful, and the Mars Observer mission was considered a total loss. The malfunction has never been fully explained, but it's believed that there had been a fuel leak in the propulsion section of the spacecraft. There was a premature combustion that caused the fuel to ignite. This caused the probe to enter a high rate of spin, which blocked its communication antenna. The total cost of the probe was over $800 million. In 1996, the new Russian space agency launched the probe Mars 96. At the time, it was the largest robotic spacecraft ever sent into space and was a pretty ambitious mission, as the probe carried an orbiter portion, a lander, and 2 penetrator probes. A penetrator probe is used to impact a planet's surface to conduct soil studies. Mars 96 launched on November 16, 1996 from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. However, the rocket malfunctioned and the probe was unable to leave Earth's atmosphere. The probe then burned up in the atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean near the west coast of South America. Also of note, Mars 96 carried a substantial amount of nuclear fuel for its mission. However, none of the nuclear fuel has ever been recovered. Following the failure of the Mars Observer and the success of the Mars Global Surveyor and Pathfinder missions, NASA attempted a more ambitious mission profile. This was known as the Mars Exploration Program, or MEP. The MEP would include a combination of landers, orbiters, and penetrator probe. The Mars Exploration Program was to ascertain once and for all whether or not life ever existed on the Red Planet. By 1998, part of the program consisted of the Mars Surveyor 98 mission. This included the use of 3 probes, the Mars Climate Orbiter, the Mars Polar Lander, and Deep Space Probes 2, which are penetrator probes. These probes were meant to study the atmosphere and surface of Mars. The Mars Climate Orbiter was launched on December 11, 1998. It arrived at Mars in September of 1999. Communication with the probe failed soon after arrival at Mars. An investigation soon found out that there was a mathematical conflict between the customary system and the Old English unit measuring system that was used by NASA. Lockheed Martin supplied the software for the probe, and they measured in foot-pound seconds. NASA used the traditional Old English system of newtons and seconds. The wrong input codes were added to the software, and when the command was executed, the probe then fired its braking rockets at a much lower altitude than expected. This caused the probe to enter the planet's atmosphere and burn up. Either it burned up or it bounced off the atmosphere into space. The next phase of the Mars Surveyor 98 program included a lander named the Mars Polar Lander. It was launched on January 3, 1999 and arrived at the planet on December 3, 1999. The probe was supposed to investigate the area near the south pole of Mars, which had frozen water ice and carbon dioxide. During the descent or landing phase, further communications with the probe failed and there was silence. No one could explain the failure of the probe, but it's believed that a faulty computer software had misread unintended vibrations from the landing struts as the probe actually landing. This caused the landing thrusters to shut off prematurely while the probe was still 40 meters or 131 feet from the surface. Probe then entered a free fall before crashing onto the planet's surface. The total cost of the mission was $160 million. The Mars Polar Lander also carried the Thermal and Evolved Gas Analyzer, or TIGA. The TIGA was supposed to measure various chemicals in the Martian soil samples. These would be then heated in small ovens to provide spectrometer readings.
As many of you know, our probes were named for the South Pole explorers Amundsen and Scott. And on Scott's memorial, it says, to strive, to seek, to find, not to yield. And I think that that saying really describes the spirit of our team, and it's a team I'm very, very proud to be part of.
Along with both the Mars Climate Orbiter and the Mars Polar Lander, there were two other additional probes as part of the Mars Polar Lander itself. They were called Deep Space 2. These probes were supposed to impact the planet's surface and drill into the soil. Probes were named Scott and Amundsen, the first two people to reach Earth's South Pole. Probes had no parachutes and impacted the surface at a high rate of speed. Radio communication with the probes failed soon afterwards. The mission was declared a failure on March 13, 2000. It is believed that the mission failed because either the impact was too severe for the probes to survive or that the batteries on the probes failed. The entire Mars Surveyor 98 mission was a failure. NASA was under the philosophy of better, faster, cheaper, which meant that it could launch probes that were more sophisticated, one after the other, and for half the price. Many speculated that this strategy meant that spacecraft systems were not fully tested due to the aggressive launch scheduling. The Americans and the Russians aren't the only ones to lose probes to Mars. In 1998, the Japanese Space Agency launched Nozomi. Nozomi was supposed to enter the Martian atmosphere and conduct magnetic field experiments. The probe failed to enter orbit due to a faulty fuel valve and also had electronics problems. The British, under the European Space Agency, launched their probe named Beagle 2. Launched in 2003, the probe was supposed to conduct experiments about life on Mars. Radio contact with the probe mysteriously ceased, and Beagle 2 was never heard from again. The mystery would remain until 2015 when another Mars probe photographed Beagle 2 and revealed that one of its solar panels did not fully deploy properly, blocking its communications antenna. Another probe, named Schiaparelli, also failed to communicate after it landed on Mars in 2016. The large number of failed Mars missions has led some to joke that the planet Mars is cursed. Terms like the Martian Bermuda Triangle and the Great Galactic Ghoul, the latter being a facetious explanation for a space monster eating space probes bound for Mars. Mars probes are some of the most sophisticated machines ever built, and the likelihood of failure is quite high. While some attribute the failures to poor management and bad luck, some fringe conspiracy theories believe that the probes have been deliberately destroyed by either extraterrestrial forces from space or governments on Earth trying to cover up the existence of alien life. Speculations of this was heightened when in the 1970s a mysterious image of a face-like apparition was photographed on Mars by a Viking mission. Some conspiracy theories believe that this is a past sign of intelligent life. Mars has, and for the foreseeable future will be, a target for exploration. It is also believed that humans will one day land on the red planet and conduct their own studies. However, until then, studies will be conducted by robots. While the most recent Mars missions have been a success, time will tell when the Mars curse claims its next victim.